hospital, nikapima akaona ugonjwa niko nayo. Sasa akasema heri upelekwe Kajiado. Madaktari akakuja kunitibu. Akasema Manda akasema akaniambia utaenda kwa surgery. Walisema iko na growth. Nilienda kushughulikia hadi akaenda kutafuta NHF mama tu anakuanga nayo, lakini ugonjwa mwenye nilitibiwa hiyo kadi ilinisaidia sana. Hiyo kama tungekuwa nayo sijui tungetoka hapo lini. Ningependa kuambia serikali waendelee kutuletea hiyo kadi ya NHF kwa maana inatusaidia sana. Kila mtu ajitahidi na jikaze kisabuni ili waweze kudhibitisha na wao wapate hiyo NHF. Ndio waweze na mtu akigonjeka juu siku yako kugonjeka na wao upate hiyo kadi, ndio ukipelekwa hospital uweze kutibiwa.
Linda familia na marafiki dhidi ya magonjwa.
p.m. East African time. Welcome to KBC Prime. This second day of the week. The date is the 22nd. The month is the second month of the year 2022. A palindrome.
An anagram. And this means that this date, the 2nd of February 2022, will read the same from the left to the right.
Forward.
And also from the right to the left.
Backwards.
And even upside down. Just try and let me know what you'll get.
And by the way, it also falls on a Tuesday.
On a Tuesday.
Which is now referred to as a
Tuesday.
A Tuesday.
Okay.
The most exceptional day in over a decade. Good evening and thank you for joining us. My name is Mboya.
My name is Museo. Welcome to the broadcast.
But first things first, our top stories. Campaign trail. ODM leader Raila Odinga promises to lower cost of living.
Election rigging claims. Sabina Chege skips date with IEBC.
Cost of insecurity. Leaders urge government to end banditry as victim of attacks laid to rest.
Our sign language interpreter is Susan Thuku at KBC Channel 1 News at Purity_Museo at Tomboya24. The hashtag is Prime Edition.
We begin this live broadcast with security matters, or better still, lack of it. The vote rigging claims facing Murang'a Women Representative Sabina Chege will now be heard by the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission next month.
The case that was to kick off Tuesday before the Commission's Electoral Code of Conduct Enforcement Committee was postponed following an application by her lawyer Otiende Amolo that the legislator was indisposed and currently admitted to a Nairobi hospital.
Ben Chumba will open our coverage with that report, and then a little later on we'll bring you Beatrice Gatonya's story on security.
A woman representative Sabina Chege on Tuesday failed to appear before the IEBC's Electoral Code of Conduct Enforcement Committee to substantiate her vote rigging claims she is said to have made at a public rally in Isibuye in Vihiga County on 10th February 2022.
The respondent is not in attendance today.
Instead, her lawyer Otiende Amolo presented a medical letter requesting for the matter to be postponed, noting it was unclear as to when the legislator will be discharged from hospital.
Allow me to introduce to you a letter from Dr. Eric Munene Muriuki, who addressed this letter at our request to confirm that the respondent is indisposed. She was admitted in Nairobi Hospital on 16th of February and is currently still undergoing treatment.
In allowing her application for adjournment, IBC Chair Wafula Chebukati, however, cautioned Sabina Chege against commenting on the case in public forums.
That the application for adjournment is allowed. 2, this matter shall proceed to full hearing on Tuesday, 8th March 2022 at 9 a.m. at the Commission Boardroom 6th floor Anniversary Towers. 3, that for purposes of preserving the sanctity of the hearing of this case on breach of the Electoral Code of Conduct, and so as to avoid prejudices to the fair determination of this case, the respondent, Honorable Sabina Chege, is directed either by self or through counsel to refrain from commenting on the case in public.
The adjournment coming a day after Sabina Chege moved to court seeking to block the electoral body from proceeding with their hearing. Through her lawyers, Chege argues that IBC lacks the jurisdiction since she has not declared her interest to vie for any political position in the August 9 polls. Ben Chumba, Prime Edition.
IBC lacks the... We'll be following that report for you, beg your pardon. Let's now shift gears and move into the space of politics. And Orange Democratic Movement Party leader Raila Odinga says that his agenda is to transform Kenya to the path of a developed nation if he is elected president.
Raila, who led his Azimio brigade in a vote-hunting mission in Taita Taveta, said he will free Kenya from yoke of corruption and high cost of living.
Raila, who was on his last tour of the coast region, pitched camp in Taita Taveta, wooing locals to join the Azimio la Umoja movement and be part of a new Kenya. Raila seeking to ensure the region remains solidly behind his bid for the August 9th general election. The ODM party leader using the rallies to outline some of the areas he would focus on if elected the 5th president of Kenya, including his plan to improve the economy and the livelihoods of Kenyans.
Na vijana wataweza kupata ajira ya kutosha. Tunaelewana vizuri? Hadi kwa upande ya mimea ambayo inatoka kwa mashamba, tunafanya processing hapa. Ili hapa inatoka bidhaa ambayo tayari zimetengenezwa, inaingia ndani ya gari ya moshi moja kwa moja mpaka Mombasa na kuenda ngambo.
Baba, umejionea vijana hao wote, wa kike wa kiume. Ukiingia hapo tarehe 9, tafadhali jobs kwa vijana. Jobs kwa vijana.
And with Taita Taveta being rich in minerals, Raila promised to ensure factories are in place to increase value addition, while at the same time promising to enable inter-country trade with the neighboring Tanzania.
Tutatengeneza hii reli vile tumetengeneza ile ya Kisumu. Napita na bidhaa kutoka hapa mpaka kule Moshi na kubeba zingine ni kurudisha pande hii. Sawa sawa? Alafu sasa sisi tunajenga viwanda hapa Taveta. Kwanza mko hapa na madini chungu nzima. Wengine wanakuja hapa wanachota na kupeleka huko. Anasema hii ni mchanga tu. Kama ni mchanga tu unabeba ya nini?
Walikuwa wajenge bandari kubwa hapa Taita Taveta County, imejengwa hiyo. Itajengwa kwa mkono wa Raila Amolo Odinga. Tumekubaliana mpaka hapo.
Na anakuja anaambia wa Kenya ati gharama ya maisha imeenda juu. Anataka nani atatue hiyo gharama ya maisha ya juu?
Na baba, kura ikipigwa saa hii Central already ile kura inatakikana, baba wewe ni president wa Kenya.
Nancy Okware, Prime Edition.
Well, elections campaign in top gear there now. His Excellency the President is expected to lead the much anticipated Sagana 3 meeting tomorrow on Wednesday.
Absolutely.
At the Nyeri State Lodge, and our political affairs reporter JJ Kioria is on ground. There you are, we can see him there. JJ, thank you for joining us. JJ, ahead of tomorrow's meeting, what's the significance of this meeting?
Tom, thank you very much for joining us tonight. Again, we're live from Karatina. Karatina is in Nyeri County. Nyeri County is home to Sagana State Lodge, where President Uhuru Kenyatta will be organizing Sagana's 3 meeting with Mount Kenya leaders. The significance of this meeting is quite big, knowing that about 4 years ago, the president coming from Sagana commissioned the market behind me. And you remember the famous words when he said that my choice for presidency will shock so many of you. And indeed, tomorrow is when we expect him to come out clear on whether he supports Raila Odinga, although that appears to be a foregone conclusion that he supports Raila Odinga. So it's very significant. The meeting is significant in a way because it gives direction to his supporters as well as the Jubilee Party, Tom.
He is expected to come out clear on who he is going to support, but do you know who is expected in that meeting?
Well, Purity, most of the leaders expected are from the Mount Kenya region, because generally when the president holds the meetings in Sagana, he brings together Mount Kenya, the region leaders, the political leaders, the opinion shapers, as well as people who have a say around this region and in terms of political direction. So those are the people we expect to be at the Sagana State Lodge. But very quickly, Purity, before I hand it over to you, let me just bring in one of the leaders who will be attending the meeting tomorrow, and probably she could give us, a feel of what will happen tomorrow. Waidera, thank you very much for joining us tonight.
Thank you very much for having me here.
Tell us a bit about who is expected tomorrow at the meeting, because that's the general question on who is expected tomorrow in the meeting.
Tomorrow's meeting is about Mount Kenya leadership. It's about the business community, about the farmers, about the stakeholders of Mount Kenya, hosted by the president. We expect the politicians who have the interests of the Mount Kenya nation at heart. We expect the people, the key business people. We expect the youth leaders, the women leaders, and all those leaders.
You are a youth leader. How many of you are attending the Sagana Free meeting?
From Nyeri County, I'm sure we have like 100 young people attending who are invited to the meeting. Yes.
So how many converge, in terms of totality? Old men, young women, young men. How many are expected at the Sagana Free?
Around 5,000 people. Yes.
And the discussion is?
The future of Mount Kenya, and what the president will basically, according to where I stand, the president will basically be telling us what he has achieved or what he has achieved for this country and where he's actually leaving Mount Kenya region. Yes, as the outgoing president.
All right, thank you very much. Waidera Maruru is a youth leader in Nyeri County. Some of the people expected to troop to Sagana 3 to listen to the president, to give them political direction, as well as the Jubilee Party, reinvigorating the Jubilee Party. It has been said it's a dead shower party. Is it? Tomorrow is when the president reveals whether it is dead or alive. But Nyeri is significant in a way, like I told you, Purity, because this is where the president said 4 years ago that his choice will shock many. Maybe the shock is coming tomorrow. Purity.
And of course, we'll be waiting for that announcement tomorrow.
Also expectations from the ground.
Exactly.
The future of Mount Kenya.
Exactly.
JJ, stay safe. Please keep us updated, and we'll be coming live from Sagana and update our viewers the live proceedings as they happen there.
As they happen, that's right. Thank you, JJ, for that report. Now, moving on, Green Thinking Action Party has pledged to groom and also to develop competent and visionary leaders who will change the politics of this country.
Kalwa said his government will be people-centered, enabled by the transformative political leadership which aims at empowering Kenyan households and sanitizing the politics of the country.
Here's that report.
Green Thinking Action Party on Tuesday held its National Delegates Convention at the Bomas of Kenya. It is here where the party leader, environmentalist Dr. Isaac Kalua, promised to reinvent the politics of Kenya to ensure leaders are accountable for their actions.
Your president for the problem and the challenge that you have at your own place could be your MCA. Your president at that point where you are could be your MP. Your president could be your senator.
Kalua said GTAB will endeavor to groom and develop competent and visionary leaders who will turn around the country's economy.
In order to achieve all the things that JITA proposes, we must localize our economy. Our current economy has largely copied and pasted from British blueprint.
He at the same time faulted politicians who play dirty politics, saying Kenyans must reject such politicians in the upcoming polls.
Politics in this country can be taken in the best way possible. Politics can survive and can change this nation without having to abuse nobody.
Kalua, as I ever said, is not running for any position during the August polls, but instead ensure the party field candidates in the 5 elective posts, except the presidency.
GTAP brings you to that opportunity. Every right-thinking person, those people who are thinking to go out there as independent candidates, this is an institution that brings together people for you, where incubation of best minds for the future will come together to change this nation one day at a time.
Leaders who accompanied him, led by Makueni Senator Mutula Kilonzo Jr. and presidential hopeful Ruben Kigame, lauded the party's manifesto, even as they urge Kenyans to make the right choices on the August 9th polls.
The launch of the Green Thinking Action Party perhaps serves as a litmus test to other parties seeking elective positions in August polls, challenging the parties to embrace green industrial revolution in their manifesto for better Kenya. Timothy Kipnusu, Prime Edition, Bomas of Kenya, Nairobi.
Well, let's now look at that item on insecurity. A somber mood engulfed Ngaratuko village in the bandit-prone area of Baringo North during the burial of the late Jacob Kiptoitoi.
Kiptoitoi met his death after armed bandits ambushed him while he was herding his goats.
Beatrice Gatonye now brings us that report.
Over the past 2 months, an estimated 1,000 families have been forced to flee their homes in Baringo because of recurrent banditry attacks. Tension remains high in the area due to insecurity, leading to up to 17 schools being closed ahead of the national exams. Speaking during the burial of Jacob Kiptoitoi, who was killed by bandits while herding his goats, area leaders condemned the deterioration of security in Baringo and urged the government to stem the menace.
Sitaweza nisiposhikwa mkono na serikali kusaidia watu wangu. Imekuwa ni aibu, ni uchungu, nimeshindwa kubeba, na ninaomba serikali wanisikie. Kama wanasema mimi niko ndani ya serikali, malilio yangu yasikiwe. Wasikize malilio yangu kwa niaba ya watu yangu. NPR ambao tuliomba tukiwa na Senator Gideon Moi, tukiwa Mchongwe la Maiwe, tunajua 40 washafika huko, 20 wamepewa hapa, lakini hawatoshi.
The clergy lamented over the high death toll in the area due to banditry.
Nimesika watu ambao siwezi kuhesabu, wale nimesika nikiwa mchungaji, wale ambao wameoa na bunduki. So kwa hivyo tunataka kuomba serikali, tunataka kuomba Matiang'i alisema ya kwamba operation kali inafanywa. Sisi kama kanisa tunaunga mkono, itolewe silaha, itolewe makwakora, na nataka kuomba yeye pia ya kwamba amesema hao wakora sio cattle rustlers, wataitwa ile inaitwa nini kama Al-Shabaab. Sasa itakuwa ni vizuri, sababu hatuwezi kusema cattle rustlers na ni wauaji ambao wanaua bila huruma.
The locals said that without adequate security, they are left at the mercy of their enemies.
Kwa hivyo ningeomba ya kwamba serikali, sisi kama Baringo North, tungependa kusema siku hii ya leo mbele ya Mungu ya kwamba imetosha watu wetu kuangamizwa. Tumekaa kama refugees, tumekaa ni watu ambao hawako Kenya. Hapa hii watu wamekuwa kama Al-Shabaab. Tumeona serikali wakienda Lamu, wameweka kikosi ya serikali pale kwa wingi. Lakini ikikuja pande hii ya Baringo North, pande wa Marakwet, sisi tuna watu ni kama watu ambao hatuko Kenya.
Beatrice Gatonye, Prime Edition.
It's the second day, the second month of the year 2022.
Palinto.
Taking a break.
Stay tuned. Of course, we have plenty more coming up shortly.
In October 1956,
The most wanted Mau Mau fighter of all, Vaden Kamathi, was captured, then tried and executed. The war against the gangs was all but over. Officially, more than 11,000 Mau Mau had been killed. Those left in the forest posed no real threat.
Do you have a news story to share with KBC? Get in touch swiftly on email news@kbc.co.ke or call 0723 892 654 or 0734 780.
Nataka niende niwe kule karibu ili babu Tunde akinihitaji mimi ni wa msaada kwake.
Nimekataa, hakuna kwenda kijijini.
Wewe Tunde akuhusu nini wewe? Tunde babangu mimi.
Kwa hivyo pia unaona nilifanya makosa.
Hana haja na sisi.
Nabonga na watoi kujua mambo za online, pia na create time wafanye vitu offline. Tungeni gadgets na sites wana use, msiwache strangers wapate chance kuabuse.
Nimeshindaje pesa kompe sija participate. Unadai info yangu na ikwe private say. Identity yangu haupati hautumi. Kitu zangu ni zangu na bado nitazishikilia.
Una post story ati ni real news. Mimi sikuwa menye mpaka nione sasa hizo news. Una text online to me tunanifeel. Staki jokes kama mimi nitakureport for real.
Wazazi, watoi na maithu wetu. Don't be fooled. Get cyber smart and enjoy safe entertainment and education online.
The Communications Authority of Kenya. Mawasiliano kwetu, nguvu kwako.
To all our prospective candidates, are you an aspiring candidate in the upcoming general elections? Do you want your agenda and manifesto to reach your voters effectively? At KBC, we have the most comprehensive and credible online platform that has profiles of all prospective candidates. Log on to www.kbc.co.ke/2022 aspirants and let Kenyans know more about you, your past achievements, your manifesto, and your development agenda once you get elected to office. What's more, the website is easy to navigate. We will create your profile, post pictures and short videos with your campaign messages at affordable hosting fees. Log on to www.kbc.co.ke/2022 aspirants today and establish your brand authority as we lead towards the forthcoming general elections.
Kupata skiza tune hii, sala ya imani na matumaini, dial *811 *815 #.
Sala ya imani. Mungu wangu na sadiki maneno yote linalosadiki na linalofundisha kanisa Katoliki la Roma, kwani ndiwe uliofundisha hayo, wala haudanganyiki wala haudanganyi. Amina. Sala ya matumaini.
Ili kupata skiza tune hiyo ya sala ya imani na matumaini, dial *811 *815 *811 *815 #.
Welcome back. Kenya will next week host the 5th session of the United Nations Environment Assembly.
The Principal Secretary in the Ministry of Environment and Forestry, Chris Kiptoo, says over 2,000 delegates will come together to discuss climate change, nature and biodiversity laws, pollution and waste.
From 28 February to 2nd March, representatives from different member states of the United Nations, business leaders, civil society and environmentalists from around the world will converge in Nairobi for the 5th session of the UN Environment Assembly, UNEA 5, the world's foremost environmental decision-making body. The current crisis of climate change, nature and biodiversity laws, pollution and waste will dominate the agenda with calls for urgent action. Environment Principal Secretary Chris Kiptoo said the delegates will agree on policies to address the world's most pressing environmental challenges.
Given the planetary crisis, these 3 planetary crises, we call on all countries and all supporters, civil society, businesses, to continue to support UNEP in making sure that we can set policies and influence laws and governance so that we can meet the objectives for the world.
He added that it will create momentum for governments to build on and catalyze impact on multilateral environmental efforts to protect and restore the natural world on which our economies and societies depend on.
We are ready for the event. We have made preparations to ensure that we are COVID compliant because we expect over 2,000 delegates. So we have a whole of government approach, Ministry of Health, Immigration. We are all working together to ensure that visas are provided as smoothly as possible and that all our guests will enjoy their stay while in Nairobi.
The overall theme for UNEA 5 is strengthening actions for nature to achieve the Sustainable Development Goals.
And the politics roundup, former Chief Administrative Secretary in the Ministry of Environment and Forestry, Mohammed Ibrahim Elmi, has announced his bid for the Wajir gubernatorial seat.
Meanwhile, ODM presidential hopeful Jimmy Wanjigi has vowed to attend the party's National Governing Council meeting this weekend, despite being not invited.
Yeah.
Elmi says he will be seeking to create wealth for locals and transform the livestock sector that he says, if well harnessed, will transform Wajir County to be among the best in the country.
And I have a track record across, both humanitarian and development. And my integrity is well known by the Wajir people. And the biggest challenge of devolution today is about integrity and corruption. And I think I can bring it to an end. But also, more importantly, devolution was never meant to get stuck at the capitals of the counties, and therefore I intend to have the devolved system going from the sub-county to the ward.
Elmi is banking on his wealth of experience, having served as cabinet minister and then chief administrative secretary, to sell his agenda. Is set to launch his bid on the 26th of this month and will be seeking the seat through the ODM party.
People will see that we will bring an end to mediocrity and actually the main one, corruption and public service. At the moment, there is no public service, whether it is health, whether it is water, whether it is livestock, all the devolved functions, which are the most important for Kenyans.
Meanwhile, embattled ODM presidential hopeful Jimmy Wanjigi now says he will attend the party's National Delegates Conference scheduled to begin this Thursday, despite him being not a delegate.
Chairman wangu wa Nairobi ambao amesema siko kwa hiyo list. Si ni leo tu. Na mimi nasema leo kwa sababu sijapatiwa notice na mtu hata kuniambia ati siko, nitakuwa Kasarani kama itakuwa weekend hii. Nitakuwa hapo.
Wanjigi said he is one of the party's life members and has been an ODM party delegate from Nairobi and sees no reason not to attend the 3-day NDC meeting at Kasarani. He further dismissed an order by the Director of Criminal Investigations, George Kinoti, that he surrenders 11 firearms in his possession.
The court announced and pronounced itself clearly on the issue of whether I have legal or illegal firearms. They were pronounced as legal.
While leaders allied to the Jubilee Party in Kiambu County have castigated politicians from the Kenya Kwanza alliance whom they blame of doublespeak over the exaggeration of budget figures. Led by Limuru Member of Parliament Peter Mwathi, the leaders claimed the Deputy President watched and never questioned the current high taxes when Kikuyu Member of Parliament Kimani Ichung'wah, who chaired the National Assembly Budget Committee, drafted the proposals. Mwathi cautioned the Mount Kenya electorate against being duped into supporting parties outside the region.
Sisi tunaenda Sagana. Na Sagana tunaenda kuongea vile tutadumisha umoja wetu.
To some health news, urologists in Nyandarua County are raising an alarm over an increased number of children being diagnosed with undescended testes, a condition characterized by failure of a testicle to drop into the normal place in the scrotum.
The experts are asking the parents to send their children for free screening exercise, saying that the condition is a risk factor to cancer of the prostate.
Experts in Nyandarua County say there is a connection between the rising cases of boys being diagnosed with undescended testes and home births.
We have seen a lot of children with what we call undescended testes. That means their testes are not in the normal position. They are at a position maybe a bit higher, or we cannot even feel them. And it has raised concern among the urologists here, both the adult urologists and the pediatric surgeons, because we have seen it in big numbers compared to other places where we do this urology camp.
We will probably be delving further into this to find out why this region seems to have so many young people with undescended testes, and also something called hypospadias, which is a malformation of the urethra in boys. And then for the adults, it's mainly enlarged prostate tissues, kidney and bladder stones, blockages of the urethra called urethrostrictures.
During a 3-day free urological camp by surgeons from the Kenya Association of Urological Surgeons in Nyahururu Referral Hospital, the medics raised concern over an increasing number of boys identified to have undescended testes in the area.
We rarely find them in old people. We commonly find them in children. The commonest cause of this undescended testes is usually what we refer to as a prematurity. So probably these children were born at a time that when their gestation period had not reached term. So it's something we are concerned of because of the numbers that you are finding here.
According to Dr. Muigai Mararu, the most common sign is when a healthcare provider cannot feel the testes during an exam. They say if detected early, the condition can be corrected through surgery.
My message to mothers of this region is that, and all mothers in general, if you find that your child has undescended testes or the testes are not in the normally positioned area, you should have them checked as soon as possible by a qualified either pediatric surgeon, a doctor, or a urologist.
So parents should not panic, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Yesterday we brought to you the first part of a series on the world's most powerful space telescope, $10 million James Webb Telescope, that was launched on the 25th of December 2021.
And Kenya would join in the celebrations after a signal was picked up by a ground antenna at a space center in Malindi.
And we asked the question, how does Kenya benefit from the Space Center?
Our reporter, once again, Sarafina Robi, traveled to Malindi and filed the following report. Here now is part 2 of the 2-day series.
79 Kenyans work at the Space Center. So far, the center has had 17 space projects since inception.
We did almost 17 launches. They were all successful in collaboration with USA.
The most recent being able to participate in the launch of the James Webb Telescope, where the world will look up to the Malindi station for telemetry and tracking of the telescope upon being launched.
First phase for 1 hour 15 minutes was only Malindi visible to this James Webb. No other station in the world was visible. This was a crucial role of Malindi. Otherwise, the world or the mission control who's following this will be blind.
The Acting Director General of Kenya Space Agency, Hilary Kipkosgei, tells of a new era as more Kenyans continue to venture into space exploration.
We are currently reviewing the Kenya space policy and in tandem with development of a zero draft space legislation.
Led by the head of the station, Mokhel Jeja, scientists who man the day-to-day operations of the Malindi-based space station were present during the launch of the James Webb Space Telescope.
Imagine when I see the first signal here, I just make a photo and tweet it, and all over the world it just took this news. So
the same real time the end user is receiving as I'm receiving. But immediately after the loss of the spacecraft or the loss of signal, there will be another report that will be sent to the end user.
From this PCTMV, we were sending the video via this, they call it the valise, but it's just like a normal server to French Guiana. Actually, the one that is on YouTube was coming directly from here because we were sending to them and they download immediately on YouTube.
Information which we get from here, the astronomical data, is that the satellites are not looking onto the Earth. It's looking deep in the sky.
What of its lifetime?
Nominally, they said 10 years. But you know, in a space missions, a Hubble was not designed to stay 25 years. But it's still working there.
The data collected in this project will be open for use by Kenyans and all scientists across the world.
All scientific missions, all data coming from this scientific mission is for free. Nobody at the world should pay, as an example.
Well, given that the first images from the James Webb Space Telescope that was launched are expected in 6 months, the wave of excitement that took over the country after the launch of the James Webb Space Telescope that a signal had been detected from here at the Malindi Base Space Station continues, given that this signal was used for tracking and telemetry purposes. And this satellite behind me, which is the Malindi 2A, is what contributed or helped in the detection of the signal.
Serafina Robi for Prime Edition.
Many thanks indeed, Serafina. Now, the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission has signed a memorandum of understanding with the Salaries and Remuneration Commission for better service delivery.
These and more stories in news making headlines in the counties with Zainab Said.
Speaking during the signing of the MOU, the two commissions' chairpersons said the joint partnership will also look into cases of pilferage of funds and non-compliance issues with an aim of bringing culprits to book.
Ensure accountability, openness, and efficient service delivery to the people of Kenya.
So we are approaching this from both non-compliance, but also from prevention. How can we help and work with all the public service institutions so that there is better compliance to the different advisories that the Commission issues from time to time.
While the Kenya Medical Supplies Authority has flagged off an assorted consignment of essential medical supplies to 37 counties, the consignment was flagged off by the acting CEO John Kabuchi and is geared at strengthening the universal health coverage scale-up efforts.
Today's supplies we are flagging off are valued at more than 200 million shillings. This month we have dispatched similar consignments valued at more than 300 million, and with this we have hit more than $500 million mark.
Meanwhile, a section of leaders from the troubled North Rift region have faulted the government's decision to merge examination centers, citing security concerns for learners. The leaders have termed the move as unfair, considering majority of the children have to walk several kilometers to the nearest exam centers without security.
It is not possible for the people of Baringo County, and especially Patagwa Ward and Mochongoi Ward. It is not possible. Because even the schools to do the matching are no longer schools. They have been left. So where are our children going to be matching to do exams?
Elsewhere, the Kenya Nutritions and Dietitians Institute has suspended 3 universities, University of Eldoret, Egerton University and Kenya Methodist University, from pursuing internship and training programs due to non-compliance. Kenya Nutritionist and Dietitian Chief Executive Officer David Okeyo, who announced the suspension, said the 3 institutions must reapply again to be allowed to undertake the course after meeting all the stipulated guidelines.
We have realized that some of the training institutions are not compliant with the training requirements, and so we have suspended the graduate from such institutions from posting due to the high risk that they may pose to the Kenyan public.
Finally, former Karachuonyo Member of Parliament Phoebe Asio and the first women Member of Parliament in post-independence Kenya, Grace Onyango, have been feted in this year's Trailblazers Awards. In a ceremony presided over by Public Service Cabinet Secretary Margaret Kobia, the two are honoured for their contribution in promoting gender equality and women empowerment.
You are sincerely thanked and appreciated for your valuable contributions. As a country, we remain indebted to you as a trailblazer for charting a path towards social justice, equality, and prosperity for all.
For Prime Edition, I'm Zainab Said.
Well, it's now time for the County Fact File. Which one are we featuring tonight?
County 025, which is Samburu. Take a look.
Samburu County, County 25, is located in the former Rift Valley province and covers a total land area of 20,182.5 kilometers squared. It shares its borders with 4 other counties: Marsabit to the north and northeast, Isiolo to the east, Turkana to the west and northwest, and Laikipia and Baringo to the southwest. Headquartered in Maralal town, Samburu County has a population of 310,327 according to the 2019 Kenya Housing and Population Census. The Samburu people are closely related to the Maasai, who mainly occupy the county. The Samburu rely on cattle as their source of livelihood. Their main food consists of maize, milk, and blood, a delicacy that the Maasai people enjoy. Other ethnic groups living in Samburu County include Rendile, Turkana, and the Borana. They rear cattle, donkeys, camels, as well as goats. Samburu County has 3 sub-counties, that is Samburu East, Samburu West, and Samburu North, covering the county's 21,000 kilometers squared. The county comprises 3 constituencies: Samburu West, Samburu North, and Samburu East, with 82,787 registered voters as per the 2017 Independent Electorate Boundaries Commission register. The main economic activities in the county are tourism, pastoralism, and commercial businesses. Samburu County is a paradise for travelers seeking fun, adventure, unique cultural experience, or just pure solitude off the beaten tracks and the fast lanes of urbanization. The nerve center of wildlife conservation and tourism in the North Rift region is Samburu National Reserve. It is home to herds of elephants, incredibly pleasant to watch, especially when they converge at the Wasinyiro River in the late mornings to drink, bath, and play. Samburu County government is headed by Governor Moses Kasaine Lenol-Kulal, a member of the ruling Jubilee political party. Lenol-Kulal was the first governor following Kenya's devolution to county administrations.
From 025 back to County 047 for our second break.
Absolutely. And Karen Jenga is on standby with the day's business news. Stay tuned for that.
Linda familia na marafiki dhidi ya magonjwa.
The UHC coverage journey is on. NHIF is working under the guidance of the Ministry of Health in the UHC Step Up, which presents an opportunity to secure Kenyans access to quality health services without suffering financial hardship. So take the bold step today and safeguard your families by enrolling to NHIF to ensure health for all.
Kwa majina mimi naitwa Aquila sana yele mako. Inaishi Namanga. Wakati wa games tukikaa tu hapo na wanafunzi wenzangu tukicheza, nikaanza kusikia vizuri. Nikamweleza mama. Sasa mama akaniambia mbona ukusemanga? Nikamwambia niliogopa. Nikaenda na mama hospital, nikapima, akaona ugonjwa niko nayo. Sasa akasema heri upelekwe Kajiado. Madaktari akakuja kunitibu. Akasema Manda akaniambia utaenda kwa surgery. Walisema iko na growth. Nilienda kushughulikia hadi akaenda kutafuta NHIF juu mama tu anakuanga nayo, lakini ugonjwa mwenye nilitibiwa hiyo kadi ilinisaidia sana. Hiyo kama tungekuwa nayo sijui tungetoka hapo lini. Ningependa kuambia serikali waendelee kutuletea hiyo kadi ya NHIF kwa maana inatusaidia sana. Kila mtu ajitahidi, ajikaze kisabuni ili waweze kudhibitisha na wapate hiyo NHIF. Ndio waweze na mtu akigonjeka juu siku yako kugonjeka na wewe upate hiyo kadi, ndio ukipelekwa hospital uweze kutibiwa.
Linda familia na marafiki dhidi ya magonjwa.
Welcome back. We now focus on business matters. My name is Carol Jenga, and starting us off is Savings and Credit Cooperative Societies, SACCOs, have been directed to conduct their annual general meeting, AGM, before the end of April in compliance with the law. The Commissioner of Cooperatives, David Obonyo, directed SACCOs leaders to ensure the annual meetings are held without undue delay for the current office bearers to seek fresh mandates.
What we can do in your circles to help.
The Commissioner of Cooperatives, David Obonyo, says that a number of SACCO officials have overstayed their respective offices, blaming it on disruption caused by the COVID-19 pandemic that restricted meetings. Obonyo says in the last 2 years, some SACCO did not conduct their AGMs, meaning officials were in office without being given the mandate by members.
Up to the end of April, let us conduct our annual general meeting as provided, because that is the basic principles of cooperative, that every year we must go to members to report progress and for members to guide us on how they want us to conduct our businesses.
Hotels and tour companies are now leading in non-remittance of members' SACCO deductions, a sorry state blamed on the COVID-19 pandemic.
We are encouraging the Mboya and the SACCOs to sit together and enter into an arrangement on how they can be limiting those outstanding remittances, within a span of an agreeable period.
Low adoption of technology is still a headache for the cooperative movement, as cybersecurity remains a worrying risk for most SACCOs.
We are working very closely with a number of about 50 TTS SACCOs to come up with a national-wide cooperatives that will have to offer platform for cooperatives to ride on in offering services. And we believe once we do that, we are going to reduce the cost of operation, and we are going to make it more tougher for anyone who wants to penetrate to the platform of our, especially small SACCOs, to become difficult. And by doing that, we will have protected the members' funds.
SACCO leaders were challenged to develop innovative business models to accelerate growth amid stiff competition from other financial service providers. Juni Karisa from Mombasa County.
Technology has been pitted as the solution to the supply chain challenges faced in the health sector. Health Chief Administrative Secretary Rashid Aman says insights from big data collected and analysed through technology will be instrumental in ensuring Kenya achieves the universal health coverage goal. The government is also seeking to streamline the healthcare supply chain by engaging local manufacturers.
The health sector is highly dependent on the efficiency of the supply chain to ensure timely and safe delivery of supplies. However, supply chain challenges account for about 40% loss of value in health products. To know where the need lies requires consistent information gathering and dissemination between the public and private sector. The government is now looking to technology to tighten the supply chain challenges.
We cannot continue losing resources, yet solutions to these challenges exist through technology. Africa must rise up and leverage information technology to enhance our healthcare supply and value chains, and to explore ways to strengthen their capacities and practices.
This healthcare supply chain dialogue is about us creating a platform of everybody who's willing to put some information, some resources, some thoughts, some experience on the table so we can start transforming the healthcare supply chain.
Aman said long procurement timelines impact the dispatch of medical supplies, proposing that the Procurement Act should be reviewed to save lives.
I think that our Public Procurement Act is a good act, but I think it is too generic, too broad. We need to look at procurement of these essential products with a different eye. If necessary, maybe we need to look at how we can get another act that can cover these, still give us assurances of accountability and value of money, but work in a way that allows us to be able to respond in a much faster way in procuring these products.
Aman was speaking during the Africa Healthcare Supply Chain Dialogue 2022, where officials from the Ministries of Health in the Eastern Africa region convened to share insights and map out opportunities for the healthcare system. The manufacturing sector was urged to increase supply of locally made medical supplies to meet demand occasioned by global supply chain disruptions.
40% of the value of healthcare products is lost because of supply chain inefficiencies. The collaboration between healthcare and technology is set to ensure that big data is used to make sure that the right people receive healthcare services at the right time. Betty Kiptum, Prime Edition.
A regional framework and handbook on the blue economy is finalized to, among others, address gaps in data collection, management and capacity that anchors Kenya's investment in the lucrative niche. Fisheries Director Roderick Kundu says accurate data will inform policy making and best practices to implement for sustainability.
The Kenya Maritime Authority estimates that the annual economic value of goods and services in the marine and coastal ecosystem in the Western Indian Ocean is over $22 billion. However, Kenya only taps about 20% of this, which is slightly over $4.4 billion.
We have a lot of aspects of the fishery that has never been documented. We just know that sport fishing is going to bring in tourists who come here to enjoy, they pay, but how is it contributing to the GDP?
Experts cite, among others, lack of accurate data, capacity gaps and lack of harmonized policies as challenges hampering the growth of the blue economy sector.
The blue economy fisheries satellite account, it is a blue economy toolkit that is going to improve on data capture and analysis so that we get the real-time results so that the information is used for policy and management measures.
To address this, 25 Eastern Africa, Southern Africa, Indian Ocean region member states, including Kenya, are finalizing a regional framework and handbook on the blue economy fishery satellite account that advocates for sustainable and inclusive fisheries exploitation.
We've actually been thinking that talking about regional integration without
developing the blue economy is actually underestimating the developmental impact of regional integration, particularly for countries that have oceans, lake resources, and COMESA does have a number of countries that have coastlines and inland lake resources. So we think that developing the blue economy is actually critical.
The intervention will be implemented by COMESA and supported by IGAD. Regina Manyara reporting for Prime Edition.
Public and private universities have been urged to embrace research and innovation in line with emerging global trends. Principal Secretary for University Education and Research Simon Nabukwesi challenged universities to embrace best practices to ensure the output is globally competitive and fit for the development needs of the country. Stimulating research, innovation and entrepreneurship in Kenyan universities is critical to the development of the country's needs. This is according to the Principal Secretary for University Education and Research, Ambassador Simon Nabukwesi, who says research and innovation encourages an entrepreneurial spirit among the youth. Speaking after opening Meru University of Science and Technology Management joint workshop in Mombasa, Nabukwesi said universities should offer solutions to the development of the country by offering courses that meet market needs.
Access to education, to quality education, relevance of that quality education, competitiveness in terms of empowerment of students through good teaching, good programs, and mentorship programs.
While noting that universities in the country are grappling with limited capacity to research and innovate, the PS challenged universities to embrace best practices to become globally competitive.
Outputs from the university, so that the outputs from the university are globally competitive and fit for purpose in terms of the development needs of our nation. They are looking, for example, at public-private partnership.
He urged the higher learning institutions to exercise prudence management of resources, mobilization of resources and planning. Now, to stories making headlines in the corporate world, small and medium enterprises should uphold ethical practices to keep up with global working standards for employees. Trade Principal Secretary Ambassador Johnson Weru says even though the government is working on creating an enabling environment, businesses must meet fundamental responsibilities in areas of human rights, labor, environment and anti-corruption. Here are the details of this and more.
MSME's lifespan in Kenya has been a matter of concern, with most of them not surviving to their third year in operation. For Kenyan businesses to gain a competitive advantage globally, they have been urged to have, among others, gender equity, a decent work environment, and strong institutional partnerships.
Together, we can work towards development-oriented economic growth by shifting our focus to retaining and creating wealth, better managing our resources, fostering inclusiveness, moving up on the global value chain, diversifying our economy, optimizing the energy mix, and placing human capital at the center of our innovations.
Meanwhile, fish sales from Lake Naivasha are expected to double once the multi-million Naivasha Smart Fish Market is complete by June this year. The 230 million shilling facility along the Nairobi-Nakuru highway will benefit over 500 fish traders and would reduce losses related to poor storage.
We expect that the volume of sales for the fishermen and traders in the fishing industry will be improved.
Finally, manufacturers have decried the numerous taxes on Kenyan businesses, which they say pushes up the cost of production. The Kenya Association of Manufacturers say those contesting for political offices should in their strategies address the economic challenges facing the country and focus on supporting the business community to expand.
We are getting new and more taxes all the time, and they are challenging manufacturing.
Reporting for Prime Edition, my name is Ibak Said.
Britain plans to boost investments in renewable and climate change projects in Nigeria and will provide £10 million of support. Minister for Africa, Vicky Ford, said on her first trip to the country. Power demand in Nigeria vastly outstrips supply, where millions of Nigerians must either go without or rely on expensive generators. Let's take a look at that story from the African continent and more.
Nigeria has the capacity to produce an estimated 7,000 megawatts of power, but due to weak infrastructure, gas supply problems and water shortages, only a little more than half of that reached the national grid. Ford said the financing invested alongside Nigerian credit guarantee firm InfraCredit will help mobilize domestic pension and insurance investments and reduce the risk for projects targeting off-grid and low-carbon ventures. The Nigerian Sovereign Fund, co-investor in InfraCredit, aims to deliver up to 250 to 500 megawatts of renewable energy capacity in Nigeria, it said in a statement. Nigeria has more than 12 trillion naira of institutional funding held in pensions, insurance and wealth funds, mostly invested in government securities or sometimes in Nigerian shares. As the world looks to transition to clean energy, Ford said the British financing will help expand opportunities for the private sector and provide affordable long-term financing from local investors to off-grid and low-carbon projects. Meanwhile, the South African rand was relatively steady on Monday, despite global markets being shaken by increased political squabbles rocking Europe and Russia. The rand has been resilient in the past few weeks despite concerns over the Ukraine situation, with high real domestic yields, strong terms of trade and fresh reform pledges from President Cyril Ramaphosa in its favour. On Wednesday, South Africa's Finance Minister Enoch Godongwana will present the 2022 budget, where investors will be hoping for reassuring signs on the debt trajectory after the National Treasury pledged to cut the budget deficit in a November midterm budget. Finally, First Abu Dhabi Bank has made an offer to buy a controlling stake in Egypt's biggest investment bank, EFG Hermes, that values the North African lender at 18.5 billion Egyptian pounds, the two banks said. If successful, the deal will give the UAE's biggest lender access to the Egyptian investment bank's strong franchise in the Middle East and North Africa region. It will also be FAB's second major transaction in Egypt after it bought the Egyptian business of Lebanon's bank Audi last year. FAB has made a non-binding offer to buy at least 51% in EFG Hermes for 19 Egyptian pounds a share, Egypt's Financial Regulatory Authority said. A spokeswoman for EFG Hermes said she could not say more beyond what was in the stock exchange disclosure. FAB said in a separate statement it believes that the non-binding offer represents an attractive liquidity event and a compelling value proposition for EFG Hermes shareholders.
That roundup brings to a close business news for tonight. We will take a short commercial break, but when we come back, Richard Munga will be bringing you the sports update. My name is Carol Jenger. Have a good night.
To all our prospective candidates, are you an aspiring candidate in the upcoming general elections? Do you want your agenda and manifesto to reach your voters effectively? At KBC, we have the most comprehensive and credible online platform that has profiles of all prospective candidates. Log on to www.kbc.co.ke/2022 aspirants and let Kenyans know more about you, your past achievements, your manifesto, and your development agenda once you get elected to office. What's more, the website is easy to navigate. We will create your profile, post pictures and short videos with your campaign messages at affordable hosting fees. Log on to www.kbc.co.ke/2022 aspirants today and establish your brand authority as we lead towards the forthcoming general elections.
Oh, good evening. Always an honor to have you company for KBC Sports Update. I'm Richard Munga. Now, Kenya Pipeline women's volleyball team veteran tactician Paul Gitau has called on his charges to step up training as they target to reclaim the league title from perennial rivals Kenya Prisons. Gitau revealed that the former African champions have been boosted by the arrival of KCB duo of Noel Murambi and Violent Makuto, as well as former DCI players Veronica Thiambo and Caroline Sirengo.
The former champions are currently training at the Pipeline base under the watchful eye of Paul Gitau. Kenya Pipeline will be aiming to put a brave fight this season after failing the case to bag the league title in the last 3 seasons.
My work now, I want these people to understand their role and what I am expecting to do at the different situations. Different situations meaning we rotate. You come from one position to another. When you go to the next position, what are you supposed to know?
Gitau urged his players to uphold high levels of discipline as it is key in their pursuit for better results.
I don't know my opponent, but what I say, I am preparing and I'm coming. I am preparing and I'm ready to face the team. And I also, that is what they are saying, that they are preparing and they are ready to face any team. Perhaps they will face me, perhaps I'll face them.
Team captain Rosso Thiambo was quick to note that they will be targeting more trophies this season.
For the new assigned players, the senior most players, I think they are now cooperating with the one who are younger, and we are gelling well, and I'm sure as we go on, those who are young will just play well as for they are now following the senior ones.
Pipeline has been boosted by the arrival of KCB duo Noel Murambi and Violet Makuto, as well as former DCI players Veronica Thiambo and Caroline Sirengo. Daniel Mwendwa, Sports.
Meanwhile, Kenya international Michael Lunga scored a brace to help AL Duhail SC trounce Qatar FC 5-0 in a Qatar Stars League encounter played at the Grand Hamad Stadium. The Harambee Stars captain put the Red Knights ahead in the 43rd minute for a 1-0 lead at the halftime break before he made it 2-0 in the 61st minute. Almoez Ali scored the third goal in the 65th minute from the penalty spot, added the fourth in the 89th minute before Mubarak Hamza sealed the emphatic victory in the 90th minute. Olunga has now scored 23 goals for Duhail in the top flight this season. Also, over 100 lady caddies took part in this year's Caddies Golf Tournament that was held at the Limuru Golf Course, having made a return after a 2-year break due to the COVID-19 pandemic. The 100 golfers were drawn from more than 20 clubs across the country.
Na ule mchezaji akikuja anataka ule mtu atasaidiana na yeye kwa uwanja. Pengine mchezaji hajui kucheza pale vizuri, utakuwa unamsaidia. Kwa hivyo atataka mimi mwenye najua naelewa golf kidogo ndio tusaidiane na yeye. Kwa hivyo ni jukumu langu kujua hii mchezo ndio nisaidie mwenye hajui huyo mchezaji.
If you can see, the competition is so big. It's a marvel girl, so we come and we try and participate with the ladies and the CS of the sport. We want to invite you to come and play with the caddies. Because caddies, we have a lot of talents here.
They came from far, and they were given a chance to compete in a competition like this, and even somebody else noted, oh, you can do well, and those people sponsored those ladies now to be members of the clubs.
Now, internationally, UEFA Champions League defending champions Chelsea FC will be looking forward to keeping their hopes to book a spot in the quarterfinals alive when they host Lille tonight in the round of 16 first leg match at, of course, at Stamford Bridge. Meanwhile, Juventus will also be eyeing a similar spot. That will be when they take on UEFA Europa League defending champions Villarreal.
After the first 4